So the film premiered last night. What was it like for all of you to see it with a public audience? James, what was the premiere like for you?
Wild. I got to experience the whole journey, every like emotional beat shift through, because I've seen it so many times, but to be able to watch it with them, it felt like I was watching it in real time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which was really lovely.
Yeah.
And what about for the rest of you? What was
so
it like
special,
seeing the movie?
So special, yeah. I mean, care about this movie so much. So, and yes, especially after seeing it, like, I mean, for me, James, like hundreds of times. For me, it was definitely in the 10s, maybe 20s, and you do start like, once you then watch it through the audience in a way, it's like really refreshing and also really lovely to see how well feel like they got it and engaged with it and appreciated it, and especially when you have moments of questioning that sometimes along the way in the darkest of times, you're just like, it's really nice, yeah.
And James, the movie's so unpredictable. I mean, the story sort of resets itself a number of times, no spoilers. But for you, what made you want to tell a story in that way?
I don't know how intentional it was when I was writing it. I think it sort of evolved out of being an amalgamation of different genres, and I don't know. It kind of just all felt like it fit, or I was trying to make different puzzle pieces fit, and then the only way to make them fit was to do the different things that I did.
I think twins as a concept is really woven beautifully throughout the movie. There's all kinds of duality. There's all kinds of, from literal split screen to just thematically what these characters are going through. So to me, it makes the way you told the story just makes perfect sense.
And Ashley, for you, you've been in some very intense, dark films. I know you from The Nightingale. This is like a much lighter role for you. Was that intentional?
I was shocked that these guys would even consider me for the role. It's really, I'd never ever get to read scripts like this, ever. And my agent sent it through. I said it's all right, but I read it on a sea lift because I didn't have time. She's like, I set a meeting for you. You're going to wake up to a script, read it, and then we'll go for the meeting. And I just loved it, and I couldn't believe that I was getting the chance to read someone so different to anything I'd ever played. And I actually said to James, he said, would you be willing to chemistry read? I was like, no, I have to. I don't know if I can do this. Yeah. So, yeah, thankfully, then they were cool with me coming on board.
You're amazing. Saved the movie. I mean, literally.
And Dylan, you have been so involved in this project for a number of years now. You're also an executive producer.
Yeah.
What was it about this project that made you want to get so involved? What about this is special to you?
Oh my God. Initially the script, when I first read it, I just absolutely flipped for it and wanted to know who wrote it instantly, and then I tracked down that it was him, and was sort of like, assumed that it might be his feature debut in terms of directorially, but then I saw that he had a feature and watched it immediately that night, and absolutely saw like an abundance of elements that make a fantastic filmmaker in the making, and I was just like, wait, this is like so exciting that this landed in my inbox, and I hope that he would accept me for this. And I've said it before, the only way that then I wouldn't have done it is if like you were an asshole or something, and he's not. He's
Put on a good face.
He's the greatest, and so then with the time that we had, I guess just being involved with it together too, our friendship, evolved from there too, and I think that went a long way, and it just ended up being a really, really special labor of love project. Yeah.
And Lauren, I saw what you said that you got involved in this project because you like to support emerging filmmakers. Can you talk a little bit about why that's important to you?
I don't think that's a general theme. It's just what drew me this time is I felt the script was so original, and I have a very small part, but I was just glad that he thought of me for it, because it's not the kind of thing that I normally get, and I just loved the movie, so there was no reason not to be in it, and I love Dylan's work, and I'm just pleased to get to do something different and be part of this wonderful team.
Because James, can you talk a little bit about your interest in? Can you talk a little about your interest in twins? Yeah, you freak.
What's wrong with you?
Maybe it started when I was young.
Yes, go on.
I wasn't per se obsessed with twins, but I did have many Mary-Kate and Ashley Olsen detective books and watched their canceled shows and their movies in the theaters and Sister Sister, and I think I sort of developed this fantasy which leads into the film in a specific line of dialogue about anyway spoiler.
I think it's so interesting. It's like, what if you had someone who was a piece of you? I mean, that's what one of the things the film explores, and I've never thought of it that way. I mean, it's a beautiful part of the movie. It's like you're looking for fellowship and friendship.
I think it sort of epitomizes
Yeah.
the idea of a built-in best friend. And I think something, for me, I was a military brat. I hopped around growing up. That was something that I think really craved and saw projected at me, that something I really coveted.
And Dylan, what was it like for you playing not just twins, but also twins who like are very different from each other? So I don't know the extent to which it seemed to you like two very distinct parts.
Sure, yeah. Well, they were, to credit James, I mean, they were, you know, a lot of that inspiration started from the text. You know, they were very distinctly crafted, you know, from the get-go. So I was able to sort of, I guess, have the initial inspiration of two such distinct voices, and then build from there. You know, again alongside him too. You know, there's a lot of discussions about the clothes and how he walks, how he carries himself, the voice, the mustache. Yeah, really glad we went with it. But yeah, you know, it makes our job so easy when you start from such a strong place in the text. You know.
And James, can you talk to us about shooting in Portland? Like, what made you want to pick that as a location?
Well, interesting fact, it was actually originally set in Seattle because they do a road trip for an NHL game. And at the time I'd written the script, there was no NHL team in Seattle, but it took so long to find the financing that they invented one. But then we put it in Portland because we heard there's such a great film crew and it still made sense narratively. And I feel so lucky because I love Portland, and we had such a great crew there. And I feel also we got to show maybe a different side of Portland than normally gets portrayed in films. And yeah, honestly, it was a few of the best months of my life. Living there and filming, it was just magical.